All right, what's up, guys? Steve Chambers coming at you today. I have a special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself, man?
What's going on, man? My name is Dr. Colby Leong from Dynamicyyc. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. So today, the reason why I brought Colby on is because Colby's been a huge part of me getting better in terms of my lower back injury and hip injury before. So I was just going to pick his brain a bit today, just help you guys out and understand more what a chiropractor does. And not only that, of more what you can get out of his services. So first thing first, I want to ask you right away is how's your business been dealing with all this stuff going on right now?
It's been pretty good. I think there's been a lot of like pent up demand, I would say. Like everyone's kind of feeling a little bit stiff and sore. I had a couple patients tell me they're wondering why their back is sore, but they're doing their work in their bed. So like 8 hours of on their laptop sitting in their bed, and they're like, well, it's probably that. So a lot of people are just kind of like aching to get some work done. People are really aching to actually just do, I think, fitness and just get back into it. So I think they're just preparing.
Yeah, I can relate because I was blowing up your phone like crazy.
It happens.
Yeah,
What else is there to do?
yeah, that's right. So in terms of like what you do, what do you think right now is like the most common injury you've been treating? And not only that, like I know you deal with a lot of athletes. So what do you think is, just to expand on that, what do you think is like the main thing missing from people that go to the gym? Because obviously I have my opinion on that, but I'm
Yeah,
sure you see it a lot differently, right?
that is probably a longer question or a longer answer, but the I think the thing that is unique to the at least the relationship that yourself and myself have with the clients and the patients is bridging the gap between the trainer and then the therapist and understanding you I understand what they need in terms of like a rehab base, and then you understand what they need for a health and wellness and fitness base. But people think that that's a completely separate topic, but it's a continuum of understanding and conscious repetitions. And we're just trying to bridge the gap in between. And the way it's worked really well, at least for you and I, is that we can meet in the middle so that when I understand what's going on for them in terms of what's making their pain, is that I can just follow up with you and then you can take it the rest of the way. Opposed to, I think, other individuals, they try to do it all. And
Yeah.
then they think that my way is the best way. I'm not going to listen to anyone, practitioner, trainer, whatever it is. And that's where the client or the patient gets injured, is that there's no communication between the two. And I wouldn't say there's a particular injury that we usually see, but at the moment it's probably upper back for sure, just because people are sitting so much and just like melting into couches and stuff. So yeah,
Netflix and chill.
pretty much. I think it's just more Netflix nowadays. Like after 3 months of things, I think people are just kind of like just chilling.
Yeah, in terms of just to expand on that too, like even before I met you, like I told you about my experiences with chiropractors before, and they were never like really reaching out in terms of like helping me do things on my own either. I think
Yeah.
that's really important too. Which brings me to like the next point that I wanted to just go over with you today. And I think the one thing that separates you and your team, especially because you guys are, the thing I've noticed with you guys is you remind me a lot of like the training team that I work with, is you guys are always bouncing ideas off each other. So like if you don't know something, you guys are trying to actually understand it instead of like you said, like think you know everything and just like
Yeah.
take guesses. So I just want your opinion on this, on your industry, especially because like my experiences I've had. What do you feel like is the reason why a lot of chiropractors like don't give their clients things to do after the session? Like they more treat it like they crack your back or whatever, and then they just like send you on your way.
That I think is also a pretty loaded question. That this may not get posted if I go completely into what I really think of what it is, but
Yeah.
to be politically correct for our industry, I think it's challenging to give rehab to everyone if you don't know what works and you don't know the movements, right? So if you have just a chiropractor that has no fitness experience, and they're just in it for just health, and they're traditional chiros, it makes sense for you not to just, oh, I'm going to give you this exercise, but have no idea what to do. It's just easier. Plus, it's a lot faster financially for them to do that. They can get people in and out. And it makes more sense to the books why they would do that, because I take minimum 30 minutes with an appointment, and like half of that's for sure showing exercises, or a large portion of it's exercises. But that's what I like to do. That's what I think is part of our bread and butter, is making sure that the patient is empowered with the movements that they can do. But I think it's a time thing. It's like, why would you spend time doing things that you don't really know? And it makes sense to me, but that's what I know. So I might as well just spend the time on those things.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like for me, even like what I've noticed in my industry, especially, I'll never forget when you first started showing me like some of this mobility stuff. And I was sort of nervous to ask you, but I was just like, yo, Colby, like, is it cool if I share this on my social media?
Yeah.
And like, because I'm so used to being around trainers that almost withhold information from their clients.
Yeah.
And you're like, hell yeah, man, share it, because you're going to have your own spin on it, right? Like, I remember you,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you said. And I think like even like my industry suffers from that a lot too, is like, come on, man, like you can go on Instagram right now and or like YouTube and like search pretty much like how to fix anything. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really make sense, in my opinion, for someone in a position that knows what they're doing to be withholding information to get paid. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like even someone like you, like you guys have been posting stuff on YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff, and like posting movements. And it's like, I don't like, it's one of those things where then there's you get other people in your industry, my industry, where they almost want to withhold information so you pay for it, but they don't
Yeah.
understand that like putting that information out there is going to make it so people actually come to you, because that's like a very like it's like we went over before. If you don't do the movement assessment, like you don't really know if that movement's gonna do anything, right?
Definitely. I think that's probably the biggest part, is that like, if you have this one movement that you're like, oh, it's so powerful, it's so good, it only works in situations that you have, right? So if I have something just for a low back and I'm like, oh, I don't want to send this one out just because it's too powerful. You also need the assessment part too, because you're not going to understand where it's supposed to go in the protocol, or like the grand scheme of things is just another movement, right? So I can completely understand, like, on both sides too, though, like the things, we would never give away all of the things that we do, because that's also what makes it what we do. But I can understand like exercises, like one part, it's like, oh, we do this squat this way. And if that's the thing that makes us good, you got something else you have to worry about in your business. That's the thing.
Yeah. Right now, like, so obviously, like, I feel like you guys are being super innovative, like with what you're doing at Dynamic. But what do you think, like, made you go that direction? And what do you think is like really missing from your industry? Because obviously our industries, they're very similar, but they're also really different, right? Like you guys are more on the like injury and recovery base, where I'm more on like the getting healthier base, right? So
sorry, you're asking if what is needed in our industry?
No. So like, what do you think was like the biggest thing that was missing? And like, why do you, because obviously like when I look at different like businesses like yours, they're not doing what you're doing. And like you guys are sort of setting the standard, right? So what do you think's missing, and what made you go this direction?
Part of it was because I've been in the like a personal training and like strength business beforehand. I did it for about 5 years before, and going to chiro school and then coming out, it was always a thing that I wanted to pursue. So a lot of it, for at least for me, was like comfort. Like, I'm a gym rat through and through. So going to talk to other gyms and other individuals that are just like love fitness and being active is easy, because you can talk the talk. Like, you can shoot the shit with them really easily with someone that understands the process, opposed to people that have no idea. So that was something where it's just like a lot of it was my comfort level of going into the industry that I really, really love. And then just kind of like carving out that niche for us, because I don't think that there was something out there that bridged that gap between like yourself and then myself to better the client. So I think it just led me into that direction a little bit more, in terms of like, well, this is what I'm good at. I don't think there's anyone doing it at the moment. I'm just going to keep going that direction. I'm pretty like put the blinders on and then just keep going forward. I don't get a lot of time to like look up and be like, oh, this is where we are now. It's more like, that's the direction I want to go. Blinders go on, I just keep going forward. So I have no idea what everyone else is doing in terms of our industry. Like I don't try to look at other chiros. I don't try to look at many people in the industry unless I like really respect them. Not saying I don't respect other people. It's not what I do. Yeah. So,
well, even like just to go on that point too. Like I think one of the reasons why I got buy-in from you right away, like because obviously I've worked with other people before, and like the other people helped me out a lot, and there was only one other person beside you that actually worked out that has helped me, and
which is crazy.
It's crazy, man, if you really think about it, because that's where my buy-in came from, man. Because you understood that I wanted to get back lifting, and you understood what it meant to me, and it wasn't just like this coming in and it's like, all right, man, like we'll try to fix you up, but like you really shouldn't do that. It was more like, yeah, we want to get you to start doing that, right?
Yeah, and this is something I think that is key in your industry and my industry for people that are long-term, is people don't understand the process of fitness. Like you can't go into it being like, my goal is to just look good, right? For long-term, it has to be something like, at least for me, for weightlifting, it's like, I really love the process of like the nitty-gritty of like, why do I do this action? Or why do I do this particular complex? And like, what does it do for me for my total, whatever it is? I love the sounds of like literally just the plates dropping, like just the whole experience of the gym is something that keeps me in there no matter what it's happening. Like even if I have an injury or if my total isn't going up, it's just like understanding that I just want to keep going through the process of those things. That's why it's like a long-term thing. And that's where you get long-term clients that want to just kind of like get better and get smarter at their fitness. And yeah, it's not a lot of people understand that part. They like are athletic, but they don't understand why they like doing it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like even for me, just in terms of that too, like the main thing I took away, like when I first met you, and like compared to now, obviously we've known each other for over a year now.
Yeah.
But like even for myself, I was training national champions in powerlifting, and I didn't even have a mobility routine for them. Right. But a lot of it's not even about like being ignorant about it or anything. It's just like not having the knowledge, man. Like people, it's like, it's almost like looking at it as like ordering at a restaurant, and like that warm up is the appetizer and the stretching is the dessert. And I'm just shoving main courses down people's throat. Right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the results don't lie. Like because like they're still getting results, they're still winning all these titles, but then they're getting more and more banged up. And I think that leads me into my next thing too. Yeah, that leads me into the next thing too. It's like I don't know how many trainers you have that like have a relationship like I do, but what do you think that is missing for them? Because like for me, obviously, I think people don't put enough into recovery, like because that's like you can't train if you're not recovering. Like that's pretty much how I ended up meeting you in the first place. So, just in terms of like recovery options, man, like why do you think it's so important to have someone in your corner, like you in your corner? Because like, even like, I think there's this misconception out there, especially with chiropractic, where I'm just going to come in, you're going to crack me and send me on my way. But what they don't realize is like, I'm coming in there and you're like releasing muscles, you're doing movement assessments and stuff like that.
What do I think that trainers are missing, or what I think they're missing in terms of their recovery part, right?
Yeah.
I think that early trainers try to crush their clients because sweat and like how hard it is an indication of how good the program is, which is not true, right? And the more that they could feel sore or the more that they feel like beat up is what they're going for as a result of being like, yeah, that was a really good workout, and not understanding like overhead volume or like squat volume and what they can handle, how long their training life has been, their rest interval, like all of these things that I don't know a lot about, but I know that there's trainers that definitely do that, like look at all of these aspects. We're there at least to make sure that there's discrepancies in the movement patterns that are not overlooked, right? That there's additional exercises you can do on the side that can just replicate a similar load without having to worry about them being like, you have to do another bench press, right? That you can get the same result of being like, you're just going to do like a shank lever or like stuff like that, where it's not super intense, but you're still getting the results. And repertoire of people's exercises and their programming are limited. And I think that people jump into it right away and they think that they need to just bombard their clients with the things like more volume or more intensity, less rest, to make sure that they feel like they got something from it.
Yeah,
right?
That makes a lot of sense. Like even for me, I actually have an online client right now, and he's like a younger guy, and he's like, dude, I don't even feel like I worked out, man. Like I need more.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, thank my spine that I'm not making you do that right now, because
yeah,
they don't understand that.
That's the process, right? Like if you could just have your back beforehand and then realize like, oh, my back feels like shit, right? I probably shouldn't do this. It'd be a lot easier to get them to buy into the idea that it starts slow, because fitness is a longevity thing. Like your fitness career is only so long. You just got to make sure you can just ride it as long as you can, doing the things you need to. But if you try to go off the start as fast as you can, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just to add to that too, I think that's one of the things where guys like you are changing my industry, is because before there's a lot of, like, even now, man, like now that the gyms have been closed and there's like a lot of online coaching going on, there's just people pumping out like programs that aren't personalized at all. And they're just, people don't actually understand the damage that can cause. Like for me, it's like, I get it. Like if you just started working out, there's a really low chance of you getting hurt unless you had a pre-existing thing. But like if you just like jump into some of these programs that these trainers are charging like money for, and they're not like made for you, it's like you're sort of going to run into that issue where it's like I said, you're not doing that appetizer that's meant for you or that dessert, and you're just getting that main course. And it's like that is literally the recipe of how I got hurt myself, and almost how every single athlete I've ever met that's been injured has hurt themselves too. It's just like, it's like you said, we're not doing we're almost, as a trainer, we're doing our diligence on the program, but we're not doing enough movement assessments like you are. I think that's the one thing that you've taught me the most, is the importance of movement assessments. Like even the simplest stuff, because even a lot of the movement assessments I've done on myself aren't the ones you gave me, but it's because you got my brain spinning like, dude, if this is wrong, like what else is wrong?
Oh no, what else is wrong? Yeah, for sure. And I think that you're right. Like that's the process of, people think they haven't figured out right away, and they're like, I'm going to keep doing this because this is the thing. Whereas like as soon as you get something like a wrench thrown into the mix, and you're like, holy shit, maybe it isn't, and then you have the horizons broadened, you're like, oh, there's a lot of other things out here that gives you more options for your clients as well. And like as soon as you think you figure it out, man, you don't. You're screwed. So like you just got to keep learning new things and trying to always change it for the better. Again, figuring it out early is not. You don't want to figure it out early. You want to keep trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree, man. And even like just off that too, I feel personally like just going back to that, what do you think people need in their programs right now? Like the reason people don't understand this, but for me, I felt like I was just like an average trainer like 3 years ago. Like I was making a decent amount of money, had a good client base. But when I started offering the things that you taught me and like sort of having that's what trainers don't understand. Like they're so afraid to let someone else take care of their client base, because it's that fear almost where like Colby is going to jack my clients. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people don't get is the better, like, especially if this is like the trainers out there or clients or anyone that has a personal trainer. Like if you have someone in your corner that's dealing with your recovery on top of your trainer, not only are you going to get better results, but you're going to feel a lot better getting. And I think that's what a lot of people don't get. Like even for me is I've learned so much, let's say referring someone to you and then having you tell me how to program the things you're showing them into my program and then getting them even better results. And like, that's like, people are always like, because I get this question a lot, especially from people I mentor or like people that are looking to get into my industry. Like, Steve, like, how did you like have your business blow up so fast? And it's it's just like you said, if you, the minute in your industry, especially, I think this is a problem that happens a lot, but like the minute you stop educating yourself on new stuff, you sort of just get stagnant, and then you're just, you're almost believing your own shit, right? Versus when you start evolving your training style or like what you do for people, that's what keeps people in. Like even with this online stuff going on right now, like obviously I have clients that aren't happy that they can't lift weights. Like I have powerlifters, but they're getting crazy results and other stuff from all the research I'm doing and all the mobility work we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a really good point too, man. Just like, especially guys like you, like when I first met you, I wasn't expecting to come in and you do muscle testing on me, right? I was expecting you to like look at my spine. It's like, it's crooked. Yeah, we'll just pop that back into place.
That's usually what people think that we do. So it's nice to just change people's minds.
Oh man, it's so good. Just one last thing. So this is like something I wanted to ask you because I never really discussed it with you. But like, what's like the worst thing you've ever seen, and like, what did you have to do to fix it? Because you've probably seen some pretty gnarly stuff.
What's the worst thing that I've ever seen?
Like injury-wise, yeah. Don't say me, man. I swear to God. Yeah.
That's hard without having to potentially, like, I guess it's just their injury. I'm not saying anyone's names.
Like, let's say this then. What's like the craziest thing that you've seen, like someone like pain-wise, where like they've made like 100% recovery?
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
there's been a couple. There's been a couple people that I've seen before that they've been working out for a decent amount, like let's say like almost 2 years or so, and they couldn't even come close to getting parallel to a squat without folding in half. Like terrible. And all I would do was essentially make sure that they can load their hips through the proper ranges of motion, and immediately afterwards they could pretty much squat ass to grass, which it doesn't happen like super often. But these people, again, it looked like they were hip hinging with a little bit of knee bend, right? And then as soon as they understood how they could use their hips in those range of motion, which probably took only like 30 minutes for them to understand, they could go ass to grass. And that's almost 2 years of working out, which is crazy. So you wonder, like, what were you doing before? Like, how did you even get off the toilet?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which blows my mind. If anyone had a trainer and had that, you're like, you should probably see someone.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Yeah. Especially nowadays too, where you can record yourself with a phone. Like
yeah, exactly. So I've been seeing more of those in general, but like there's been a couple times where like, oof, that's really bad. And then immediate change, and you're like, wow. It's definitely one of those things where I do it and I'm like, oh, the things I'm doing are actually working. That's great.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
And it's honestly being immediate. And like I love those things too, when I can go, you have knee pain, we do a treatment, you have no knee pain. Like it's very cause and effect. And that's pretty much how we plan most of our treatment base. So I just love the mobility stuff. I don't see a ton of crazy injuries, like some people that have like torn ACLs and stuff like that. I don't see particularly all that often. A lot of our stuff is kind of like movement based, chronic pain, stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like even for me, I remember coming in and I probably hadn't done a high bar squat in like 3 years, and I had a back injury, and you literally had to teach me how to squat again. So yeah, I can relate to that pretty bad. It's crazy too, because even as a trainer, like I'm training my clients and their squats look great, but because I don't have a coach, like there's no one telling me.
Yeah. You're like, I guess I'll do it this way. I went through the same thing when I was training like on my own and on and off. And it wasn't until I got like a mentor of my own to like teach me like strength and conditioning that I was like, oh, I was doing that really wrong.
Yeah.
And then further along in like chiro school and stuff like that, and I was like, oh shit, I was doing that wrong too. And like, again, you just can't be stagnant. You got to keep learning and try to like always think about refining your craft. If it is fitness or if it's like as a therapist or as a trainer, is you got to just kind of keep learning, and then surrounding you or people around you with that know their shit, right? Like you can't be good at everything, but it's making sure that you have people in your corner to be like, oh, I have someone for that, right? Like, oh, I have someone for that you trust, because you're going to be good at one thing, but you can't be good at everything.
Yeah, I even remember too, because I didn't really meet a lot of the people that work at Dynamic, but even when LJ invited a couple of them to come to our gym, it's like they were teaching me stuff you sort of showed me, but it's like we talked about before. They had their own spin on it, man, and it was like so awesome just like see it from a different perspective. And I feel like it's really important that to make sure if you're a trainer or like in an industry like you or massage therapy, that you always have those people around you. Otherwise, you sort of turn into one of those guys like that just like they think they know everything, and then nothing ever progresses, right?
Yeah. Then the guy that like, oh, I used to do that. Yeah. Oh, why don't you just do it? Yeah. That stuff I hate, where they're like still doing the same thing. You're like, you're not getting any better. Why would it work if you keep doing it? You're still not getting better. This doesn't make any sense.
It's like, why do you keep leg pressing when you have back pain?
Yeah. It only hurts when I deadlift a lot. You're like, really? Really? Yeah.
Oh man, perfect. So just one last thing. What I just want to like get this out there too. One thing that you really opened my eyes to in terms of just training and stuff like that is people need to start taking like that, the recovery aspect, and treat it like that's actually working out. Like for me, with some of the drills that you've given me in the past, and like obviously like you know me now, I'm always researching stuff and throwing ideas off you, but like those are way harder than me hitting 5 rep deadlifts.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Back to like my very first point about like the continuum of like working out and then doing your rehab. It's a level of consciousness, right? Like, so when you do your rehab, you're focusing on a very specific thing. Like, am I loading my glute? Am I loading my hamstring? Do I feel the contraction here? Is my back straight? Like, you have all of these details that you're trying to fire and like contract and control this one movement. It's the same thing as fitness minus the, am I contracting the right thing? Like, no one goes into like a 100% back squat and be like, fire my quads, right? Make sure my glutes are fired. They're just like, don't die under the bar. So you can make a lot of things very, very challenging in terms of a warm up, as long as you can create like a good stimulus. So like, I don't mind rolling and stuff like that, but it's monotonous, right? And people don't like those things because it's just kind of like whatever, or like passive stretching. But again, having that repertoire of things of being like, oh, I can do a isometric hamstring curl to fire up my hamstrings, or like an isometric glute bridge to fire up my hamstring. It's a workout. Hold a glute bridge for 30 seconds. It's fucking real hard, right? And it's preparation, right? Gets the glutes involved, fires your hamstrings, as long as you don't use your low back. Like, it's preparation for the task you want to do. And that's where warm up and rehab kind of like segue together, is that you got to prep the muscles you don't use. You can't assume that they're going to start to be used in the squat or like whatever other task you want to do. My biggest one is like, you never play a sport by playing another sport. Yeah. Right. Like, if you're gonna go play basketball, you're not gonna go play hockey. So if I'm gonna go power lift, I'm not gonna go walk on the treadmill or like run beforehand. I should prep the movements I want to do before I do the task I want to do specifically for that task. And that's where like a very good warm up or rehab part is important and has to be like specific.
I agree. Not only that, like, and the reason why I wanted to have you on here too is I really want people to understand. It's like, don't wait until you get injured. Like that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's like, what I realized too is like, obviously for me, like I'm not perfect right now. Like I have my aches and pains and everything like that, but I'm not living in pain. And like having someone that's like, if your trainer is unable to help you with your recovery like that, you need to get someone in that corner before it turns into a big issue. And the reason why is your body's giving you warning signs. Like I can't believe how many warning signs I had before like I really got hurt. And it's just like, but you just ignore it. And then it turns into one of those things is then when you, like I've gone through this even since having you helping me, is you start to feel better and you sort of lay off the,
like I don't need to do this as much.
Right. So I just wanted to bring you on today just to like get a bit more clarification on what you do. And not only that too, just to help the people that do follow me understand how important it is. Like I've been pumping out all these mobility drills on YouTube for a lot of it's just been for my online clients. So they have a reference to go to when they're doing my programs. But like, man, if you're living in pain, like there is solutions. It's not like you got to just take painkillers and go in for surgery, right? Like,
yeah, there's lots of options out there, right? Like people think that there's one type of chiro, or like there's one type of physio, or there's one type of trainer. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch. Like every industry isn't the same. Every medical doctor isn't the same. That's why you get second opinions. So like when you get someone tells you like you shouldn't squat anymore, right? Or like you have pain, you're gonna live with it. Why would you stick with that one opinion? Get another one. Find someone else that understands what you do, and explore other options. Like people just stop. It's crazy how many times people are like, I was told that I can't do this. And you're like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And yet they're still doing it. It's just kind of like, that's crazy. Why don't we just try to help you keep doing the thing you want to do instead of just stopping you, which would make you probably go insane.
Yeah. I remember even before I met you, not to throw my doctor under the bus, but he sort of told me to go working out. And I was like, that's not really an option. I'm sort of a personal trainer, man. Like I can't just...
That doesn't even make sense. Yeah. That's crazy. To hear that from a medical doctor is crazy, especially if you're so young. It's just kind of like, why?
And he told me to go get some Robaxacid. That's the best.
Oh my God. That's challenging for sure.
Let's leave it at that. Just some final stuff, man. Where can everyone find you at? I'm going to put it in the description, like links and stuff. Like if someone wants to book in with you or anything, where can they find you at?
You guys can check out our website, Dynamicyyc.com. You can honestly also shoot us a DM on Instagram as well. It's at Dynamicyyc.com, or sorry, Dynamicyyc.
Cool.
Pretty much everything is done booked online or through email. You can call us, but email or just the online booking is the best way.
Perfect, man. Well, thanks for coming on. That was awesome, bro.
Thank you, man.
Of course.